What if I told you that our food is covered with one ingredient that is quietly poisoning us?
If you look around to your children and go, what am I leaving them? And is this causing harm to them?
This is not just about farming. It's about our health, our fertility, and our children's future.
But all of these chemicals, in conjunction with one another, cause huge amount of disruption.
This week on Return to Wisdom, I am joined by Blair Beattie,
We are part of a big experiment.
Director of Farmers Footprint Australia, and together we uncover the truth about glyphosate, agriculture, and the future of our food.
This is such an important for our time on Earth right now. As we re-navigate our future, this is a big piece of it.
Welcome, Blair. Wow, Keshia, how great is the quality of your new podcast, Return to Wisdom? Oh, mate, I know. I have been recording at Byron Bay's premium content and podcast recording studio, Pod Byron. They are epic. It's new, it's fresh, it's legit, as you can see. If you want to upskill your brand, if you want to create a course online, this is the place to do it. Jump on at podbyron.com and be sure to check the show notes for a sneaky little discount on your first session. Pod Byron is where it's at. You! Before we get into today's show, I firstly want to thank you for being here. It is because you tune in each week that I'm able to continue on, and I really appreciate your support. Secondly, if you enjoy the content, please head on over to the homepage of the show. Hit subscribe, like, share, and please review the channel. It would mean the world. This is a small way you can contribute to better guests and greater conversations. You're listening to Return to Wisdom with Keshia. Welcome everyone to Return to Wisdom. Today I have Blair Beattie joining me. Blair Beattie is Director of Farmers Footprint Australia and has some incredible projects in the works. And I am so excited to have you here today, Blair, because this is a topic that interests me, yes, but I know that a lot of my audience are going to be extremely keen to learn about and hear about. So thank you for being here today.
It's an absolute pleasure to sit with you. Very excited.
So I personally know that you have been very, very busy behind the works because you have been recording here at Pod Byron. So we have been in and out recording at different times. So it's really cool to actually just sit down with you and see what that's all about.
It feels great just to sit.
Not be the one interviewing.
Yeah. It's much less stressful, isn't it? Just being on this end going, I don't know what she's going to ask me, but I'm kind of feeling good here.
Yes.
I don't have to think too much.
I know. There is like a little bit of that, cool, I don't have to lead this. I don't think people actually understand the pressure. Well, at least me, I put a lot of pressure on myself to like hold a good conversation, make sure it's interesting, like keep it fiery. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot more to podcasting than just talking.
I've realised that it is a little bit of an art form, right? How do you bring it from like a Q&A to a conversation? And I write sort of scripts down and sort of get that down pat for my guests that we have on the podcast, and I have that with me and I don't even look at it. Like in the moment, it's like it's really hard to sort of have that with you and try and dominate a conversation. So you've just kind of you create the energy, kind of know where you want to go and trust. Let's do that.
Yeah. Well, I feel like also it's a little bit of prep. Like at least you've got the prep down. So even if I don't use any of the questions that I have written down here, they're still kind of streaming in my subconscious somewhere, and the information will flow hopefully.
Well, I'm going to be looking at you and learning from you as we go as well.
Oh, cool.
So I can be a better host.
No pressure. All right. Well, today we're talking about a pretty innocuous and terrifying subject, actually. So I don't know, maybe a little pre-warning for anyone whose headspace isn't there at the moment. But we're going to hit glyphosate hard. Do you want to actually give us a little bit of an intro of what you're doing at the moment with Farmers Footprint Australia and then also with your new project?
So should I give some context around who Farmers Footprint is for the audience?
That would be wonderful.
So we're a small not-for-profit organisation based here in Australia and also in the US and New Zealand. We were birthed to essentially amplify and accelerate an agricultural transition to something more beautiful. In simple terms, moving away from conventional practices and monocultures into something more regenerative, which is kind of one of the buzzwords around at the moment. Regenerative could be anything that falls under the umbrella of not doing harm or leaving a landscape in better shape what it was when you started. Kind of simple but complex as well, but we'll keep maybe the complexities out of it. So as organisations, we storytellers, we share beautiful stories around farmers that are doing incredible things to reinvigorate their landscapes, themselves, their enterprises, and even their communities, to sort of illuminate the pathway of possibility around agricultural practices. And we hold events. Last weekend we did a farmer retreat, which is such beautiful and amazing offerings, like taking a farmer off their farm and surrounding them with other farmers is in itself this massive healing process for farmers. If anyone's not aware, farming is the most difficult job on earth. Not only do you not get paid well and have to sell into predominantly a commodity market, you are up against the natural forces, which sometimes don't coalesce. And you're on 24/7, 365 days a year. But it's also one of the most noble pursuits possible. So farmers, especially here in Australia, are challenged mentally, biologically, spiritually. So we thought an appropriate action for our organisation is to offer them something beautiful, offer them some nurturing, some love, some acknowledgement of the work that they do, and in that process help them transform and give them some tools to become the best versions of themselves. So we take them through practices, we share information, we do breathwork journey together, and the hope is that we allow them to come or reconnect with themselves, which in turn allows them to reconnect with their families and their landscapes, and the byproduct means that they make better decisions on what they do with their landscapes. Anyway, that's kind of one of the programs that we have brought together. But since we launched maybe 4 years ago here in Australia and maybe 6 in the US, we've had this recurring theme imbued in what we do, and it's glyphosate. So we've been working for maybe a couple of years on an awareness campaign, which will be an international campaign, to allow people to really understand what's going into their food and the harm that could be causing, not only for themselves, but our planet, our waterways, our landscapes. So this campaign we launch next year is something that we see as the greatest possibility to create mass awareness around agrochemicals in our food system, and thus have a immovable force behind possible transition away from the use of these things, which I'm sure we'll get into deeply at some point soon.
Yeah.
So what we've been doing now is a precursor to that campaign, and that's a podcast called The Invisible Ingredient, of which we talk to experts from around the world that have been in this space for years upon years upon years, researchers, clinicians, farmers, to unpack this story around the use of glyphosate in our food system and what it might be doing.
Mm-hmm.
This ubiquitous chemical that we find in all things now.
I know. And it's actually quite scary when you start looking into it that it is in everything. Like it's quite hard to avoid. For those who aren't aware of what glyphosate is, what is the more common term used for it?
So glyphosate is the main constituent in a product called Roundup. It was actually it first came into usage as a chelator, meaning it got scale and it was a mineral deposits off pipes. But I think through that process they realised, oh shit, this thing kills everything. What else could we use it for? And it became the world's most widely used weed killer. You've all probably used it. I know I have. And it is, it's been around since the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
Its use really propelled when we started using it on our monocropping and as a desiccant for crops.
Can you explain to me what a desiccant is?
Sure. So a weed killer is obvious what it does. You spray it, it kills weeds, it makes things look really nice and neat and uniform. Like as colonial beings, we like to control nature and keep everything in straight lines, and we seem to like to dominate.
No.
Keep things really neat. So that's one of the uses, but within an agricultural context, it's actually been used widely for weed killing, but also as a crop desiccant. So what that means is at a certain time when say a wheat crop is almost ready for harvest, they spray it because at that point there might be risk of some natural event occurring. It might rain or something might happen, and then they won't get the best yield out of their crop, or they might miss the harvest time. So they'll spray it and then they'll harvest after that. So that essentially means that this weed killer gets sprayed on all of the wheat that we eat. And there's no actual methodology for actually getting rid of that. So it goes into all of our foods and all of our crops, and that might be oats, it might be soy, it might be wheat. And that happens every day here in Australia all the time.
So this is sprayed on the crops, not just to kill weeds, but just before they harvest.
Yeah.
So it's like basically because, okay, I didn't know this. I didn't know this at all. I thought that we sprayed it on crops to like get rid of the bugs and the fungus and...
Which we do because we now use Roundup ready crops which have been genetically altered so Roundup doesn't affect them.
Okay, so the Roundup was affecting crops before...
It'll kill everything it touches pretty much.
Okay, so...
But that's not good if
it's killing the crop as well.
At certain points of that crop's growth,
Yeah.
you don't want it harmed.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So our wonderful friends at Monsanto and the like created genetically modified crops that were resistant to Roundup. Mm-hmm. So they could come in and spray that crop whenever they wanted to. The crop wouldn't be harmed, but everything else living would die.
Okay, and then it's not just that where then the rain would kind of maybe disperse some of those chemicals, but now it's like just before we harvest, we're going to just dump a whole lot more Roundup on it.
Why not?
Why not?
Look, it's all about efficiencies, right?
Yeah.
And this is not a judgment on any farmers that are using this methodology. It's the way that we've done things for some time, and it's the way that we get told to do things, and it's the most efficient way to do things. So economically and from a agricultural playbook, it's just how you do it.
Yeah.
But what we're not considering is the downstream effects of that behaviour.
Yeah. Ooh. Well, look, it's spicy because I know that a lot of my listeners would be very into organic foods. I guess some people may not know why they're choosing organic, but are we avoiding glyphosate by eating organic foods?
Potentially no. I'll just leave the pause there, that little moment of silence, like, what? So the challenge with molecules like glyphosate, and glyphosate's part of a suite of chemicals that we use in our food systems to grow food, control in our monocropping ways, atrazine, paraquat, there's a suite of them. Here in Australia, we're actually the most lax in control of chemicals used in our food system. We seem to be like the test case. Oh, we'll just let them use and see what happens. So what happens, coming back to glyphosate, is it's a water soluble. So it'll move into okay, let's just go through that process. It's used on the crops, it does its work, it goes into the soil, it disrupts the biology in the soil, the functionality of the soil. So we're taking the life and all that beautiful connectivity out of the soil. Bad thing, because healthy soil produces healthy plants. I mean, what most people don't know is under the ground there is just this incredible network of a relationship happening all the time, and happening with plants. Like, plants will draw down sunshine, that beautiful God in the sky that greets us every day, and draws that and turns that into energy and sugars, and then makes these deals with fungi and bacterias underground, and goes, I'll give you some sugars, you give me some minerals, and there's all this incredible exchanges happening underneath the soil. Now, that can only happen if there's life in the soil, and we've got all this biology in the soil. Using agrochemicals means we kill the biology. I mean, these are sides, right? Side means kill. So we use this, we kill off the biology in our soil, and then it rains, and the water washes down into the waterways, carrying some of these molecules, glyphosate being one, into our waterways. Then how does it rain? How do we get rain? We have precipitation, right? We have this water cycle, we have a nutrient cycle, we have a mineral cycle, we have a carbon cycle, all these things spinning around, and then suddenly glyphosate becomes part of those cycles. So we see it in our rain. And then if it's in our rain and in our waterways, it's going to get into everything, isn't it? So we see, like, tests have been done. There was a really huge study done in last year in the UE, and that unpacked where it's gone. Like, also in Germany, there's been some incredible studies done. It's in all of our organs. It's so ubiquitous now that there is no escaping from it. So when you ask me, is it in our organic food? Quite possibly. How do we test for that? Yeah. Well, we have this, it's not all doom and gloom. We have this incredibility. The earth, the mother, has this incredible ability to heal, and so does soil. Mm-hmm. And there's ways that we can use these chemicals to mitigate the residue and the harm that they cause, but we're not even doing that at the moment. So there is a good chance that it's in, that beer's been tested, wine's been tested, bread, like all those cereals, and that that points again to like gluten-free, or is it? Is that what's happening?
Yeah, is gluten the problem?
Is that the problem, or is it glyphosate the problem?
Yeah, well, it's so interesting because you always hear people who are gluten intolerant here go over to Italy, where I think they have quite strict laws over there in terms of like, it's not even just organic, can't use it. Like, no one can use Roundup on their crops. And then you go over to Italy and eat pasta and bread over there and like have no issues at all. So is that like
I don't know.
No?
But when you look at correlation, causation, there is a causative pathway here. Because when when glyphosate gets into our bodies, it disrupts our tight junctions in our gut lining. So what does that look like? That looks like, autoimmunes. That looks like leaky gut. That's the precursor to all of that story. is if the barrier between the outside world and our inside world is being disrupted, then I'd say that could create some challenges. And we already know that glyphosate does cause challenge and is the precursor to cancer. That we've been to court.
Yeah.
We've won cases. Well, not me, but we, as in the people that see this as a challenge to humanity and want to change its use. So we know it causes harm. How much harm? We really don't know. But what we're seeing and the correlation between the rise in so much disease in humanity right now with the use of these agrochemicals, glyphosate being one of them, it's like we can't ignore that. The graph goes like this. On one of the fellas on our podcast, Jeffrey Smith, has been tracking this for years. So what are we doing? And why isn't this a conversation? We can go into that.
Yeah. Well, like
maybe I haven't framed it all enough for your listeners yet.
No, well, I think that most of the people listening to the podcast are pretty switched on when it comes to chemicals and toxins in their environment. So I feel like most people would have a good understanding, or at least some understanding, of glyphosate. I was actually listening to a podcast not so long ago, and when I say not so long ago, it could have been between January and now, about how is it Bayer? Is it Bayer that's the company that has
Bayer bought Monsanto in 2018.
Yeah, okay. And they are asking for immunity, I think, in the States, and the States are going to grant them immunity. This is very similar to what we saw with vaccines back in 1989.
Exactly the same.
Exactly the same. So have they been granted immunity?
Not yet. I was in what they're asking. I mean, we can quickly talk about Bayer. Bayer bought Monsanto. Monsanto was the biggest agricultural company in the world by far, had all these agrochemicals that it used, and also controlled seed, and they introduced all these GMOs. And then the biggest pharmaceutical company then buys the biggest agricultural company. That must be good. Bayer are now seeking in with the US legislators a bill to pass, or whatever that they call those things, that they are immune from any legislation. Well, they can't be taken to court if someone claims that their product causes harm, which is what we've seen with vaccines. And it is a reaction to the reality that they are forking out billions of dollars to people that have been harmed by their chemicals.
So many people are winning these court cases and suing.
Yeah. We have a fella called Brent Wisner on the podcast, and he was the lawyer that took Monsanto to court, and his team to court at the same time around the same, I think it was the same year that Bayer was buying Monsanto. Monsanto was being taken to court. It was massive. There was a fella called Dwayne Lee Johnson was is it the defendant? No, I don't know what he was taken to the court. He was a groundskeeper and had a couple of very high exposures to Roundup, and it was called Ranger Pro Roundup. So it was like the Roundup on steroids kind of story. And he had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma and a certain amount of time to live. So Brent represented him and unpacked this incredible story around the collusion, the corruption, the fraud that these companies, the lengths that they will go to, not only to get a product out there that's untested and unsafe, ghostwriting scientific articles, colluding with policymakers. It was incredible what came out of that court case, and they won. I think it was $239 million. It ended up being, of course, they went back and appealed and did all that story as they do, because these guys have very deep pockets. But it was an amazing outcome because finally they were being held to account by what they were doing. And out of that, there's been thousands upon thousands of people have come forward and claiming that they have been harmed by not only Roundup and glyphosate as a chemical. There's others that are, there's Syngenta, which is another big beast that creates, I think it's paraquat. So it's happening to them as well. Like we've at least got this standard that we can push back against these beasts that don't really care about us and our health, just productivity and profitability. So if that gets abolished, if we are unable as human beings to hold a corporate entity accountable for their behaviour and their product that has caused us harm, I see that as a real challenge and also a reflection of how who are we meant to trust? We can't trust the corporations, but I thought the government, these institutions were there to protect us, and I'm not seeing that happening.
Well, I feel like we've had a fair bit of evidence in the past few years that
I think we've got quite enough.
Yeah, it's mounting. It's constantly mounting, and this is another one of those cases. But what really shocked me is that it's under like the Maha movement, which I've been following fairly closely, and they are wanting, like it was the Conservatives that were wanting to give Bayer immunity from litigation. So like that shocked me.
It's
so
rather
much.
Confusing, isn't it?
It is really confusing.
Like you're doing that, but you're doing that. How can that be
RFK,
congruent
what are
with
you
each other?
doing? Come on. You're meant to be on our side.
Yeah, look, I still believe he is on our side, but there's so many barriers to him actually doing what he would like to do. I mean, it's such a convoluted mess. So what's the answer to that? It's a ground up movement. Yeah. It's you, whoever's listening, you take responsibility. You become accountable. And because we gave away, like I talk a lot at events and things about food. And this is part of this story. Like glyphosate is part of our food story, right? We don't treat it as sacred anymore. We've commodified the one thing that nurtures and gives us energy. And we need to bring that power back. We gave that power away to corporations who then said, okay, well, I'm going to tell you what to eat. I'm going to tell you when to eat. And I'm going to tell you what, it's like, what? Like cereal. Where'd that come from? Kellogg's came up with that and then said, okay, you need to eat this every morning. Righto.
Kellogg's is a really interesting case study too when you deep into that.
There's a lot of case studies. Sanitarium's another interesting case study.
Really? I haven't heard about their backstory.
We best not dive into that one right now. We'll get segued. But it's like what we've lost as a collective is our relationship to our food.
Yeah.
And if we were in healthy relationship with our food, meaning we know what we should be eating, when we should be eating, with the rhythms of life and the cosmos, if we know where our food came from and we honoured and respected and acknowledged those that feed us, then I don't think we would want anything to do with these agrochemicals on our food. I don't think we would put up with that. So it's up to us. Like we have that opportunity to change that dynamic. Yeah. And if enough of us do it, job done. So that's what we're doing. Yeah. That's why our podcast is alive. That's why our bigger campaign next year wants to be birthed, is because if we come back into right relationship with our food and ultimately ourselves, right? Because this is about us. If we really respect who we are, we will respect what we put in our bodies. And none of us really want to do harm. And especially if you look around to your children and go, what am I leaving them? And is this causing harm to them? Because the shittiest thing, I may start swearing when I get passionate.
No,
sorry.
go. You won't be the first. Well, pre-warning for all the mums in the car with the kids.
Yeah.
It's coming.
Yeah, it's coming. What was I saying? The one thing that is even more nefarious about these agrochemicals and glyphosate is that you don't get an immediate reaction. It's like you use it and you're like, yeah, it's fine. Then you use it again, it's fine. It's like we eat something with it and we're fine. Eat something with it. But over time, that's when we see the byproducts of it. Like it's just one of those things that disrupts life.
Mm-hmm. So is it like an cumulative build-up within the body? And would they be classed as forever chemicals, or is this something that we can detox from?
Nothing's forever.
Okay. Oh, I like that. That's something that I feel like not enough people know, me included. Say it again.
So, yeah, nothing's forever. Everything transmutes into something else at some point in time. Mm-hmm. It's just like, how do we get to do that?
Yeah.
So there's people that I work, there's amazing farmers that I work with that still use glyphosate. Okay. But what they do is formulate it with other things like fulvic acid, which is one of the possible what you can use as a detoxer for glyphosate, because we can get tested now and find out if is glyphosate in our blood, and if it is, there's ways that we can detoxify ourselves from that. But they use that, and they use it really sparingly. It's like in agriculture, you have a really big toolbox, and sometimes you've got to use things you don't want to use, because if you don't, then
you won't have a crop at the end of it.
And if you don't have a crop at the end of it, you go into debt with the beast again. So and I'm like, you use things when you need to use them, and sometimes they do. But what they do is mix it and formulate it with things like fulvic acid. So it gets you don't use as much of it, and then when it gets sprayed, it does its job, but it doesn't leave a residue because it's eaten up by this fulvic acid, and then they also will mix and make sure that there's high biology in there, so the good fighting the bad and the good wins. Yep. In simple terms.
Yep.
So there's ways of working with these things when you need to, but the trajectory is not to use it at all. Yeah. We've been told stories around glyphosate and the way we farm, like we need it to feed the world. I still get told that by farmers. Like these stories we got told by these big beasts around, and we're indoctrinated into them. Like we can feel them. Like they still come up in my mind. So where'd that come from? Oh, that came from a TV ad, or it came from a newspaper article. It came from something which is more propaganda to support the machine. So that if anyone says to you out there, oh, we need these chemicals to feed the world, that is a load of crap. It's not true. And we can just look at, if we want to really feed the world, we look at waste as the first, because we lose 30% of waste on the farm, 30% of our food within the logistics system, and then we waste 30% of it at home.
And the logistics system is what going like transporting
storage.
It from okay. I mean, and a quick fix for that would just be shopping at your local. Farmers maybe. And
we have Helena Norborg-Hodge on the podcast talking about localization.
Oh, she's wonderful.
Yeah, she's a matriarch.
Okay, so I wanted to ask before we get I have so many questions. I keep writing them down. Monocrops.
Yep.
So my understanding of glyphosate is that it kills biodiversity for monocrops to grow. And so when you look at it in the macro on a farm, for instance, and someone is just farming for a monocrop, they can do that by using glyphosate to kill off the biodiversity and grow the one single thing. Mm-hmm. Is that what's happening within our bodies as well?
I'm not the best person to answer this, but we have people on the podcast that do.
Okay.
But yes, it's a mirror, right? Mm-hmm. Like nature needs diversity. If we take away that diversity, we have to use all these other things to keep life going, but it's not really life. It's just we're propping it up. So in a monocropping system, you use glyphosate, but then you have to also, because we're not having these cycles happening, the nutrient cycle, the carbon cycling, the water cycling, we then need to use inputs, so fertilizers. And we have no diversity, so we're going to be there'll be challenges come from possible pests or fungus. In a ecosystem, we don't have those challenges because everything's kind of balanced or balances itself out. If something pops up here, something will come and take care of that. But in a monocrop, we don't have that, and that's why we're so reliant on these chemicals to support that. And we don't really get great nutrient-dense food out of that anyway because we lack the biology in the soil. It might look good. It's been pumped up by nitrogen, potassium, all these other inputs, but it really doesn't have all that full spectrum of nutrients that we require and we can't get from the earth. We need to, have that via plants, these secondary aminos, these phytonutrients and all these things. So a monocrop might look nice, all in neat rows and nice clean, no weeds. Oh my God, that's amazing. Look at that, so beautiful. That's another story we got told. I mean, nature doesn't work in straight lines. And without diversity, there is no beauty. So that monoculture is a mirror of us without diversity. If we don't have great microbiome diversity, then we're again going to be susceptible to disease or from a fungi or bacteria or something becoming more prevalent. So then we have to supplement and we have to do all these things. So everything's, the individual and the collective, we're just fractals of one to the other, right? Yeah. We're mirrors of the other. It's the same with, I travelled around Australia for a couple of years visiting farms. I meet a healthy farmer, I see a healthy farm. I meet a stressed, depleted, angry farmer, I look at the landscape and it's a reflection of that. If we have a healthy gut, we're healthy humans. Yeah. It's so important. Like our gut microbiome is, you've probably read the studies and have smarter people on here to talk about this kind of stuff, but that's where our happiness, serotonin is created. Without a healthy gut, we're screwed. And then we become more dependent on the system and all these other supplements and all this other crap. It's like all we've got to do is start bringing diversity back into our lives. And that's not just with food. That's with all the things that we do. Yeah. But food is one of the pillars, a diverse and eating seasonally, eating local. Like if you want to avert these agrochemicals, you want to avert eating dead food, because there's a life force that goes into our food as we have ourselves, that pranic energy. That doesn't. If something's harvested, there's a matter of time between that where that's held in the plant. So if we're eating something that's travelled for a month, sat in cold storage, been sprayed with something just to keep it looking nice, and then sits on a supermarket shelf for a period of time, do you think that is carrying that life force? Nah. And people might think that's a little bit woo-woo, but I'm sorry.
No, you can get woo. You can get woo here. We love it.
I got permission?
You got permission.
There's so much more going on than our biology.
Yeah.
And we need to keep that into consideration. Like all of that, and that's part of the diversity that we need as well. Eating dead food that doesn't have any real nutrient value but might look good on a shelf and stay fresh really long.
Yeah.
Why is it staying fresh so long?
Yeah. It's always creepy when you've got something in the compost
the
and
hell?
it looks
Yeah,
the same.
it's not
for
breaking
ages.
down.
Yeah, like why isn't it? And I'm sure you would have seen the videos of like McDonald's burgers that have just been sitting in a jar for like years and they haven't changed at all. You're like, oh dear.
I mean, we know this, right?
Yeah.
We inherently know this. There's a gnosis that sits within us that we know what is right. And we come back into a right relationship with our food. We start to, food's this great connecting piece in our collective, in our culture. We break bread together, we sit together. And then if we dive a little bit deeper, how does that make us feel? Not just when we eat it, but after. We start to come into connection and that's where the responsibility comes in, where that connection comes back in and we get to play.
Yeah. Well, like I think that was one of the big debunking of the blue zones. It's like it wasn't what they were eating, but the fact that they were in community and eating together. It was like a lot of these places that are blue zones have these really strong like family relational connections, and they ate together, and the way they ate these big long meals with like lots of family members, and there's always like randoms come in, and it was always a connection time. And I thought that was really interesting. I loved hearing that. You mentioned earlier that glyphosate was used originally as a mineral chelation. So I'm just going back to that. Is that like in pipes, like the minerals?
Drainage pipes.
So like almost like a Drano.
Yeah.
Okay. So if it was a mineral chelation, if it was a mineral chelation originally,
yes.
is that what it's doing to the crops? Like, is it collating minerals from our food sources, but also is it collating minerals from us as well, like drawing that out of us?
Yeah.
Okay, so food is not as mineral dense as what it used to be for that reason, but then also for the microbiome that we're missing in the soil.
Well, that's happening inside us as well.
Yeah. All right.
It's insidious.
So like, oh God, that's huge, because if you're depleted of minerals, you're depleted of microbiome. I mean, these are the two things that we talk about with like all diseases. It like that is crazy. All right, can I ask a controversial question?
Please do.
With eating vegan.
Oh dear.
The vegan diet.
We can talk about blue zones around this as well.
Yeah, okay, because I feel there's a lot of like contradictory information out there. But is a vegan diet helping or destroying our environment?
Okay, so if anyone's vegan listening,
We still love you.
yeah, it's like you make choices for what you do in the world and full autonomy and respect to those choices. Should those choices be influenced by stories told, it's a good time to reflect on those. It's the same for anyone eating food, right? Like people that eat meat and go, oh, it's like, well, you don't even know where that meat comes from. There's a story attached to that that's pretty horrible. But coming back to, is it more climate friendly? Is it more, that was controversial.
Climate change.
So open up that can of worms. Where's it coming from, right? Where is that, how much, is it actually food? Was it created in the lab? Is it a synthesis of high processed crap that might look like something else or want to taste like something else? But even if it's just, if you're on raw foods or whatever, if they're coming from monocultures that are bereft of any biodiversity, then it's probably not saving us. And, I mean, there's so much more to that story. But if you're eating food, if you're a vegan and you're eating food because you want to save the planet, I think you need to dive a little bit deeper and open to a bigger conversation. I get the sense of where that's coming from, and it's beautiful.
And there were a lot of documentaries. I got sucked into them. There were a lot of documentaries telling you that by eating a vegan diet, you are reducing carbon emissions, you are reducing your carbon footprint, and you are saving the planet. So
it's just not true.
Yeah, okay.
And you can, it's your responsibility to go and unpack that story and really get to be brave enough to get to the truth of that and accept that and then make a decision. If it's for ethical reasons, it's because you don't want to kill an animal, then that's your path. And I respect that totally. Like we spoke about this on the retreat, and Liam came. And I'm sure there was challenges. He's filming, and one of our presenters is talking about the vegan story and the brainwashing that's happened around.
He's going to be eating meat so soon.
But he's beautiful because he's like, yeah. He doesn't take offense. He's not triggered by someone else's perspective, because we've lost that art, right? We've lost the art of having a conversation with someone that we don't agree with. Yeah. Cancel culture's paid to that like the last fucking 5 years. It's been really challenging to have a perspective that differs from another, and so we've become more tribalistic and more divided. We need to, transmute that a little bit, I think, in our way forward, and be very discerning about our decision making and get to the bottom of the realities, and not listen to stories from big corporations or anything you see on the fucking TV or in reading a magazine. Do proper research and then make a decision. And if you want to eat meat, you eat meat. And you want to be a vegan, you be a vegan. And if that comes from the heart, then that's up to you. But don't believe that you're saving the world.
Okay.
And then don't use that as the pedestal to talk down to anyone else. Mm-hmm. That's the toxicity that comes.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
In my belief, in my humble opinion.
I am entirely in agreement with you. Another controversial question.
I didn't know we were going to go here.
Oh, I go everywhere. I don't know if you've heard of a character called Alex Jones. Mild character, famously said that atrazine, which you spoke of earlier, is turning the frogs gay. What would your thoughts be on that?
If there's any gay frogs listening, I'm sorry, we've gone here. Look, I know Alex Jones. I've been down the rabbit hole many times and for a long time. So Alex is one of those kind of big, loud voices that I followed for a while. And, he's crazy as. Mm-hmm. But there's something that he can bring forward that needs to be spoken about. And he does that a lot. And atrazine, these chemicals can be endocrine disruptors, and that story is not the first time I've heard it, and it's not the first species that we've seen some of that happen with. But I can't speak to it from a scientific mind because I don't know enough about it. Is it possible? Is that improbable? Is he just being Alex Jones and saying things that maybe don't stand the test?
Slightly inflammatory.
Maybe. But it's not the first time I've heard of things like that happening because of the chemicals we're utilising in our food system. Mm-hmm. And atrazine's horrible. And it's still legal in this country.
Really?
I think so. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. I think paraquat is as well, which is directly linked to Parkinson's.
I've heard that. Is paraquat the one that they use on golf courses? I've heard.
Yeah, possibly.
I've heard that golfers have a high incidence of Parkinson's. Like that it's been linked to golfers, or I guess people who are on golf courses a lot, because of the chemicals they use to keep a very beautiful monocrop of grass.
That leads me into the other part of glyphosate, right? like we use it in agriculture, a ridiculous amount. Like it's 10 times more widely used than any other pesticide in the world. Crazy amounts every year. But it's also everywhere you go. Like councils use it to control the road verges. You know, when you're driving along and you see that brown patch on the sides of your roads, it's because they've sprayed. Parks and gardens. There's a vet, Gundi, who speaks to this in spades really well about what she sees in animal disease from exposure to chemicals. Dogs, you take your dog down the park, and they've sprayed. Like it's everywhere. Our sports fields, golf courses, massive use of synthetic chemicals. There's a suite of them. And we're getting exposed to that constantly. Schools, like our kids, getting exposed to that stuff. There's an amazing lady we speak to, Shana Crystal, who has a organisation in the States called Rewild Your Campus. So they've gone in and they're taking out synthetics on university campuses and bringing them back to utilising biologics, which are the ones that cause no harm, but also just reforming, that story around uniformity, everything in beautiful straight lines and lots of lawn. It's like kids are getting affected by sitting under a tree reading a book because they probably sprayed around that tree to keep the weeds down. So it's everywhere. We cannot escape it. And then, so anyone listening to this that wants to go and have a chat to their local council about this, there are alternatives available. The reason we're not taking them up is economic. So what if, which leads me to like, we use this economic story all the time in agriculture. It's efficient and it's economic. But it's that reductionistic, thought, like all of our sciences. We use that works, yep. But then we don't see what happens downstream. What if we took agrochemicals out of our system? What would it look like for the health of our communities? Like our health would go up. Therefore, our use of pharmaceuticals and the medical system would go down. That's not a good business model, is it?
It's
not for them.
No.
Who am I calling them? These large businesses that make decisions for us all. So it's like, well, we know if we stop using them, we'll get healthier. Our landscapes will get healthier. There'll be so much possible, but that doesn't serve the guys that make these or make money out of these. Keep us sick and make a lot of money.
Yeah.
That seems to be the sense.
I feel like if we're going to get really conspiratorial, which I will because why not, not just making money off the sick, but a sick population's a lot easier to control too.
Yeah.
I talk a lot about the birth rates. I find it fascinating that like our birth rates are falling because the story that I was told growing up was that there were way too many people in the world, that like we're consuming 4 times what we can produce on the planet and so on and so forth. And that having children is like the biggest carbon footprint you can have. And, there were posters around Canada. I remember seeing one on Facebook during COVID that said that the best thing you can do for your child is not have another. Really, yeah, the propaganda was big. As someone who has 5 children, I have firmly removed that belief system from my consciousness, but I am helping everyone else do the same. Do you think that these chemicals, and I guess mainly glyphosate, might be contributing to the infertility crisis that we are seeing today?
Yes. I think yes.
Yeah.
But let me extrapolate. What we don't know, and this is something that we need to consider, we have glyphosate and we have this other suite of chemicals that we utilize. What we don't know what happens when they come together. We don't know what this cocktail does. And I think almost all of what we're seeing right now, whether it's infertility rates, which are rife. I mean, that could have something to do also with the other thing that they can't sue you for.
We've said vaccines already. I think you can go there.
I mean, that could play a role. But all of these chemicals, in conjunction with one another in a beautiful biological system, cause huge amount of disruption. So singling out one is hard.
Yeah.
But looking at all of that and then looking at where we're at, where humanity is at right now, and where our health is, where our mental health is, where our landscape function is, where all of that story is, you can't ignore these two things. They seem to be happening together when people do those broad studies and see where we at. It's in conjunction with the use of these chemicals in our systems.
Yeah. Well, I feel like that trending line of like increase in agricultural chemicals, increase in vaccine use, increase in like external toxins, all kind of correlates with the decline in fertility rates and health and increase in cancers, and all like the trends just kind of all seem to line up, which is
it's not by chance, right?
No, can't. Well, yeah. And I think the interesting thing is that, I mean, we've spent so much time singling out systems. I mean, you look at our medical system and everything is its own single thing. You've got a brain surgeon and a heart surgeon and someone who specializes in blood and someone who specializes, and like they don't look at the system as a whole. And when we take that out to the macro, it's like, yeah, it's like a whole system. So when you introduce one thing, it's going to affect the entire system and disrupt the entire system. Yeah, and instead of just introducing one thing, we did what every great scientist should always do and just dump a whole bunch of different things into it, see what happens. Don't know which one caused what, but we'll just see what happens.
We are part of a big experiment.
Do you ever feel like your energy's tanking, foggy, and tired all the time? Yeah, me too. Turns out that this could be low iron levels. Did you know 1 in 3 of us are iron deficient, and so many of the supplements out there are synthetic, they're harsh on your gut, and your body doesn't absorb them as well. What I love about Great Spirit is that their iron range is organic, it's made right here in Australia, and it's whole food based. So you're getting bioavailable minerals and nutrients. They've got thousands of happy customers, and honestly, the testimonials on their site are incredible. So if you want to check them out, you can head to greatspirit.com.au and use the code Keshia20 to get 20% off your first order. Enjoy the energy boost.
But the sad part is that there's, people's lives at stake. There's our children's future. And that's why that's for me personally, that's the drive behind why I'm so passionate about this topic and why I'll do it for the rest of my days, is because I want to leave something more beautiful. I know, like, we may be sounding doom and gloom, but there's a sense in me, and I wouldn't be doing all of this work if I didn't know that there's something beautiful possible when we come back into connection to ourselves and our food and our communities. Like, we're incredible beings. We are the highest form of technology available. I don't care what you say about AI. Like, we are these incredible, incredible creatures that need to start taking responsibility for being a keystone species on Earth. And if we do that, that's the story of separation, right? We've been in all these stories we've been talking about. This indoctrination has been a story of separation, where we're not part of nature. Some of our religions speak to that, like we hold dominion over, but I don't really think that's what they're saying when we unpack them in healthy ways. So we have that opportunity to take responsibility for who we are on earth. And we all have our little departments and we need to do it together. Like the practices say that the next, because I'm deeply involved in some Indo-Tibetan practices and Western psychotherapy, and the traditions have always said that the next Buddha will be the Sangha, meaning the next enlightenment will come through the collective. So if we can learn again to do things together, we can create the beautiful world we all know is possible. And I believe that. I can feel that. And I've seen that and I know what it is. We've just got a bit of work to do to get there.
Yeah,
and
okay.
a bit of shit to sort of,
clean up,
quagmire of it to get through.
Yeah.
But that's exactly it. It's showing up, growing up, waking up, cleaning up is part of our process as individuals and as collectives.
Okay. And for any mothers, fathers who are listening to this and they're just like, oh, shit, what are some actionable steps that we can take immediately to help our environment, to help your cause, to help ensure the health and safety of our families?
That's a very good question. Inviting food, like changing our relationship to our food is one of the critical points.
Mm-hmm. Organic farmers markets, people, organic farmers markets.
Yes. Even if they're not organic, relationship-based buying.
Mm-hmm.
It's like if you know where your food comes from and you build a relationship with the person that grows it and you understand how they grow, maybe they're not fully organic. Maybe they're more organic. Maybe they're more than organic. Maybe they're biodynamic.
Ooh.
Or maybe they're just not certified.
Yeah.
Maybe they don't use any chemical inputs. They're spray-free. All of that stuff, all of that is a step into a better relationship to food. And we're lucky enough here that that's available to us in spades. Yeah. That may not be the case for people in cities. But there is a growing amount of food being available from amazing farmers that deliver to our cities. There's box programs all over the place now. Like I get a every 2 weeks I'm in the CSA program with guys down in Belgium called Bello Beef, and I get delivered. Georgina's amazing. Love those guys are doing incredible work, and I know them and I know how they farm and I know their animals are taken care of, and I get a package delivered every 2 weeks from them, and it's like Christmas. Open it up and go, what's in this week? So just that is coming back into a right relationship with our food. And then I know my kids are eating really good food. And it's so that there's something when we come back into coherence with the rhythms of not only the day but the cosmos. When we invite that back in, we get to enjoy what the gifts of the mother are in every year in food. So we start to eat seasonally again. Yeah. And we start to look forward to those different parts of the year when different foods are available. Like we're so convenience minded, right? We go to the supermarket and everything's available right now. Yeah. But because we have no relationship to that food, we don't give a shit where it's come from or how it's grown or who grew it. So once you bring invite that relationship back, then you look at that and go, well, that's travelled from America. Or those apples were grown over there and then they travelled there to get waxed so they live on a shelf a lot longer. And now they're there in front of me. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to buy that. It's just, that's for me, the first part of a beautiful journey. And you're all invited. And you're probably already doing it.
Yeah.
From the perspective of chemical use, if you're using it at home, if you've got that sneaky bottle of Roundup,
Stop that.
then we could have an amnesty day where we round up, and everyone gets to bring their bottle in and say, sorry, yep. There are other things available now. If you need to spray your path and to get rid of weeds because you don't have time to do it manually, which a lot of people don't, there's biologicals available that do the job of Roundup. There's a first easy low-hanging fruit story. Just be discerning about, because your kids might crawl over that path after you've sprayed. Your dog might, and they're all getting exposed. That exposure over time is going to harm them.
You absorb it like straight through your feet too. It's yeah.
So we have those things available to us now. I mean, soon Roundup will be off. I think in the US they're taking it off the shelves or taking it off the shelves. But what we know, because we learn, is that these chemical companies are just going to come up with something that does the same thing, that has another name, and won't be tested and will maybe cause more harm. So we just need to move away from that altogether. And if you need to use inputs, use biologicals, meaning they come from nature and can be then gobbled up by nature. They don't leave a residue for later generations. So that's another easy one. Yeah. So if you're using that stuff at home, then just switch.
If we all become squeaky wheels and start calling our council, because even here where I'm pretty sure we still don't have fluoride in the water, I still see the council using Roundup like it's Skittles. Love it. They love it. They've got it on their backs. It's all colourful. They're like bopping to a beat while they spray it everywhere. Have you seen that work? Like, have you seen if all the mums get together and just start hounding the council, will they back off? Is there like a script we can use?
Yeah, so I uncovered that there's people that have done that here in Australia successfully, and they've shared like that playbook to go by. But, that might have to be customised depending on who the council is and what relationship is to it. There's also a Non-Toxic Neighbourhoods is an organisation in the US, which is also a great one to use as reference for resources and materials and all that kind of stuff to go, but look what happens, look what it does. Here's the scientific data to support that, blah, blah, blah. So yes, if there's energy and people want to go, well, I go to that park and I'm getting exposed to it, my dog's getting exposed to it, my kids are getting exposed to it, I want that to stop. Yeah. And there's also opportunities and alternatives. Councils will go, well, we've got a budget and we're going to go over budget if we use a biological alternative. And a lot of the time those biological alternatives don't do as good a job.
Okay. Which
means
you might have more dandelions, which are edible and very good for you, just so you know.
Like, we're killing superfoods all over the place.
It's wild.
And
it drives me insane.
So there are all this. I know Byron started doing steam weeding at some many years ago because I knew the guy that was doing it, but I think that fell over because economics. A lot of it's to do with economics.
Water. It's just hot water.
Yeah, but it was too expensive to get the guys to do the steam weeding in comparison to just spraying glyphosate. So it's like we need to up the budgets of care in our councils. But hey, I'm happy. If anyone out there, I'm happy to go into council with you. I know the mayor.
Great. Watch the emails coming.
And if we want to set a case study and a blueprint about how it's done, because there has to be a body of responsibility for those that use these chemicals. And there's not. So let's make them accountable.
Yes. All right. I feel like we need to wrap up soon. Okay. And there's so many things that we didn't get to touch on, or we didn't go as deep as I would have liked to, but you have a podcast that everyone can go and listen to. So if you want more information about this movement, about glyphosate, about how it's affecting our bodies, our children, our fertility, our environment, would you like to share the podcast with everyone?
So the podcast will launch on the 28th of October. It's called The Invisible Ingredient. It'll be available on all those podcast places and spaces, Spotify, I don't know, ask Togger.
I'll link to in the show notes.
So we have a website called The Invisible Ingredient .something. Could be .org or it could be .com. Have a play with that, but you can't miss it. We've got 11 episodes that are going to be coming out, and we talk to some of the, we've touched on a lot of stuff. It's a deeper dive into those realities. We talk about the legislation around it. We talk about taking Monsanto to court and what was uncovered in that. Mind-blowing. It is incredible. We've got Stephanie Seneff. She talks about how it affects biology. We've got Zach Bush on our first ep, and he dives into what it is and gets kind of sciencey around the whole glyphosate story. We've got Helena Norborg-Hodge. So we kind of paint the picture and frame it all, but give some juicy detail to this glyphosate story. And then the last few episodes are sort of unpacking, well, what's the pathway? Mm-hmm. Where do we go from here?
I know you have Will Harris on as well, who...
Will's amazing.
What a legend. For anyone who doesn't know, he was on Rogan and he speaks to his farm and his changing from that baseline agriculture to now being a more regenerative.
Well, he's not only reinvigorated his farm, but his entire town. It's what an incredible story, what an incredible case study that we could invite here into Australia, because oh my God, I could talk for hours.
Go. Summarise it.
Our rural communities are being destroyed. The big businesses coming in, and we're losing our communities. What Will's done is reinvigorate a community, and this is because of the way we farm and the big corporations that are involved with it. The loss of, it's hard because we're losing topsoil at a rate that smarter people than me say we might have 60 harvests left. We're doing things and we're just oblivious to the realities of our future. Well, we have the antidotes available. We have the people that can show us the way. We have case studies all over the place of what we need to do and how we need to do it. We just need to start putting energy into listening to that and invigorating that and bringing that into the scale that it needs to be, because it can be, because it's what we need. It's what the future needs. It's what humanity needs. It's what the planet needs. We just got to do it together.
I am personally so excited to mass consume that podcast. Maybe I'll have to invite you back because I'll probably have more questions or need to just dive deeper into some things. But
there's so much we could talk about.
I know.
But thank you so much for inviting me on here. It's been such a pleasure to unpack some of this story with your amazing listeners. And yeah, you're all invited to tune in. This is such an important for our time on Earth right now. As we re-navigate our future, this is a big piece of it. Agriculture takes up over 50% of our landscape here in Australia and worldwide. It has a huge effect on how our landscape performs, how we perform. So let's come back into coherence. Thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you, Blair, so much for coming. And thanks, everyone, for tuning in. We'll see you next week. Thanks for joining me today. If this ignited a flame for you, please share, follow the show, and leave a review. The more support and subscriptions the show gets, the more powerful and credentialed guests I can bring on to deepen these conversations. I appreciate you being here, and I will see you next week.